Hey everyone, I'm Will, and in this video we're going to head out into the wild New Zealand landscape, and I want to take you to a beautiful hidden waterfall tucked beneath the mountains. There's no track to get out here, and you might remember it was about 12 months ago I took you guys out to this one. I had a great time out there and I got an image that I liked. We went real close and did a big focus stack exposure blend beneath the waterfall. Now on that trip there was another frame that I really liked a bit further back from the waterfall itself, but I don't know what happened, but somehow I managed to lose the raw files and they just never got saved. So I'm keen to head back out to this beautiful waterfall. So I want to take you guys with me and we're going to talk about some compositional techniques on staying inspired. And then the crux of the video is how do we overcome when we have wind blowing around plants and trees and things when we're trying to do a slow shutter on the water. I want to show you how we shoot that and then put it together later on in Photoshop. And the technique I show you also means that you can potentially leave the tripod at home as well in the future and do some handheld slow shutters. All right guys, let's go. Oh, these grass. It's the grasses. And I've just gone ankle deep into the bog now. Find a good spot to cross over. Definitely way too deep there. Bush bashing time, putting the boots back on. The weight is really not good for your feet, not these ones anyway. No protection at all, so we now pick a path and hopefully stay on the right course. So as usual, what I recommend is try not to pre-visualize too much. You got to really have an open mind with photography. Do some pre-visualizing about where am I going to go, what type of weather do I like, but as far as how is the image going to look and what is the, you know, the purpose of the trip and everything like that, nah. I think it makes so much more sense to just get yourself somewhere nice and then just see what speaks to you. Let the inspiration come to you, it'll find you. Just look, feel, smell, touch. It's social media and I don't know, just the way it is. You can make it feel like it's a trophy game. It's not a trophy game. It's a game of emotion, and it's not even a game. It's an outlet. Creativity, expression, time in nature, the landscape. This is what it's all about. This is the pinnacle for me. I haven't even touched the camera, but I feel free out here. I can hear it. Composition is just big dominant shapes. Got one big shape there, that's the main subject. Look to the right, huge big shape. Look to the left, nice balance, so that's great. And then we've got the cascades here, so right here this is a beautiful image. That's kind of like the easy option, nothing wrong with that. I'm just wondering, is there a way we can then incorporate some kind of plant life up close? That'll give a sense of depth because you've got the really close details there, the really big flowing to the small. So we have a near to far perspective. Now it's all about those fine details. So once you figure out those big obvious shapes, then it's just a game of inches, just moving in this general area here for me. I don't need to go wandering too far.
If I'm happy with that background balance of those shapes, now I just start looking in this immediate section here. Got the 12 to 24 on, having to play with different focal lengths. One problem is the wind on the leaves, so if I do a slow shutter for the water here, it's blurring the trees as well. To overcome that problem, I'm bracketing, so I'm taking 3 different images at different shutter speeds, and then we'll have to blend those later on. All right, don't want to overemphasize the foreground here, especially those cascades. They will pull the eye away from the waterfall. The other consideration is not getting too low. If you get too low, we lose that mid-ground. We close it in. You watch, ready? When you do that, you lose the depth because we can't see that linear perspective, the wide flowing to the narrow. See, we've got that now. Wide creek flowing and getting narrower, that pulls the eye in. If we get down low, it disappears. So you don't want to get too low. Don't want to overemphasize foreground cascades. It's easier said than done, but it does happen because it does look nice. But you got to remember, if it's too bright and white, it's going to not allow the eye to flow to the background where the waterfall is. Whenever I'm shooting and I feel like I've got the image, I never pack up and walk away. I just take that one last look around. I've just done that, and look at this frame I found. I really like this. I have to be ultra wide at 12mm. But being under here, you've got the canopy curling over the fall and the beautiful details of this tree, and then the slick water below. Same thing, I'm just bracketing, but I really enjoy this frame. Woo! The more you use ultra wide lenses, the easier it gets. I know it might be hard at first, but you see the world differently once you've used a wide angle for a certain amount of time. You see possibilities like this.
All right, back at the computer here. Let's have a quick look at the raw files. This was the final frames that I really liked out of that shoot there. I'm a sucker for that tree, which is just curving in, the way it kind of frames up that waterfall. So you see I have the 2 exposures here. So this first one is 1/6 of a second. You can see it's sharp all the way through. That's at f16. The water flow itself, I don't mind that texture, to be honest. So in theory, you could just sit there and keep that image with sharp up the top on the tree. But if you wanted to slow down and streak the water a little bit more, so this next frame is 1/3 of a second, and yeah, admittedly I do prefer that water. If you compare the two, you know, just got a little bit more drag on that one at 1/3 of a second. Now 1/3, we're still sharp on the rocks, so you could do that as a single exposure, except of course that problem of the trees. So you can see the wind there is just really shaking everything around. So what we've got, we're going to basically use our 1/6 of a second frame for 90% of the image, and then just blend in the water from this one here. So how do we do it? Firstly, I have applied an edit already, so I'm going to do Command A. Both images are selected. I'll just bring that down so you can see them better. And if I go to reset to default, that's the original raw file, and then I'm going to reapply the settings by doing Command Z to reapply it, and that's where we're at there. Now this video today is not meant to be a start to finish. Check out the rest of the channel if you want to see more of the processing. I just wanted to show you the blending side of things. So all I'm going to do now is push open objects. This is going to open up both of those files into the main part of Photoshop. So this is Camera Raw here, or you could be in Lightroom. It just doesn't matter which one you want to use. I'll also say that this edit, that what I've done here already so far on that raw, not 100% finished. I'd give that a little bit more time and revisit that and tweak it slightly, but at least you get the idea anyway. So this is the image that we want to use the majority of, that first one there. And then the next frame, this one here, we just want that water. So what's the best way to do it? Well, I would say let's drag this sharp image on top of the other one. So you can click and drag up like this. So I'm dragging up to that one, and then I go down, and now I let go of the button. It's dropped it on there, and then you can just align that like so. Now, of course, I was handheld. There is going to be some slight misalignment, so I'll turn the top layer on and off. but that alignment is quite minimal, and honestly I probably wouldn't worry about aligning these files because I'm only really concerned with this section of water in here, or the cascades. That's the main water that's getting the drag on it. So what I'm going to do is push the mask button down here, bottom right, and now we have that white mask, and we want to reveal now what is behind this file, which of course, as you know, is that slow shutter image. So to reveal, we're just going to push B for the brush, and I'm going to use a soft brush, so scroll back up, soft round, and up the top here, the opacity, let's make it 100%, and the flow 100%. This just means now when I click, it's going to completely reveal the layer behind. Think of it like the curtains are closed, and now we're going to open the curtains wherever we paint, but we need to paint in black, because basically white is closed curtains, black will open them. So over here, I can push X or the arrow, and it changes back and forward the color. So with the black, using the open and close brackets, I'm changing the brush size, and now I'm just going to click and basically paint. Although I don't really like saying paint because it just obviously doesn't look like paint. What we're doing is, again, opening the curtains, tearing open and allowing us to view the file behind, running that across like so. If you look over on the mask, and I'll hold down the Option button, or Alt if you're on the PC, this is where I've started opening and looking at the layer below, so just that lower portion. So now I'll zoom in, and anywhere I want to smooth out that water, I'm just clicking and opening up and looking through with that mask. What do I need to be mindful of? Thankfully the stones are sharp on both frames, so it doesn't matter if I accidentally, for example, hit this rock here, except for the fact that it's in a slightly different position because of that misalignment being handheld. So what I need to be mindful of is, if I'm going to do this technique, I want to make sure that you don't just do half the rock like that, because now I've only, you know, revealed half of one frame, half of the other. If you're going to bring in the whole other rock, just do the whole thing. So now that rock there is the 1/3 of a second, for example. You don't want to fuse the two because that misalignment, and I'm sure that makes sense what I'm talking about there. So I'd probably just go in a little bit more, anywhere where there's major, you know, do I want to smooth that out? Not really, Command Z. To me, it was mainly this foreground here. That looks nice though, that texture. So what I like about blending slow shutter water with slow shutter water is there's no distinct lines. It's, you know, soft lines merging with soft lines. So you can't really go wrong basically. I just undid that part. I think I might even undo that part. You have the freedom now to blend in a portion of one with a portion of another. Again, on the stones or any hard objects, you will need to be quite critical. But with the soft textures like the water, we can easily, you know, let them overlap, which is what I'm doing now. If you have a look through here, you can see where there's portions of one, portions of the other. It doesn't matter. You just need to go by look now. I wouldn't be trying to get a perfect mask that, you know, traces around every rock and everything like that. Zoom out, bang, hold shift, turn the mask on and off, before, after. All right, and that's how you can get around using a tripod as well. Even if you're on a DSLR, come out here, shoot that at a faster frame, 30th of a second, whatever you can get away with, as slow as possible before it gets blurry, and then slow it down and do a series of slower exposures, and then you can just come back and blend it later on. And as long as you're not moving around like a maniac, then you're going to be okay doing this blending here. Otherwise, we can always auto align it, similar process as to when we do a focus stack. But that's how you can do some exposure blending, especially for water flow there. Keep in mind something like this for lakes, obviously the river, seascapes as well, and it's going to allow you to potentially leave the tripod at home if you want to experiment with that. An easy way to do it as well is put the camera into bracketing mode, and it will fire off 3 consecutive frames at different shutter speeds, and then you can just click, 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 and then when you get home, you're going to have that slower shutter one there to blend in later on. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. It was really fun to get out there and share that one with you, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's video. If you have any questions, please just leave them below. Your support really means a lot. Thanks so much.